Hey everyone, this is Just a Bit Outside, presented by WaFd Bank. Join a best bank at wafdbank.com. I'm Michelle Ludtka, and we have a special Mariners edition of Just a Bit Outside this week in honor of the team's opening day on Thursday, April 1st. To kick things off, we have our experts weighing in from the sidelines as I'm joined by Q13's Aaron Levine, Root Sports broadcaster Brad Adam, and the voice of the Mariners, Rizzs. Let's talk some Mariners. Let's start off first with kind of the team overall. This is a young core group of players that, we've kind of watched develop and grow over the last couple of years. You guys have gotten, Rick and Brad, kind of an inside look with spring training and stuff this year. What do you think is realistic expectations for the fans for this team in 2021?
I'll tell you what, looking at this year, I think now it's really time to win for this ball club. And we saw it in the second half of a shortened season, 60 games last year, where, they got off to a slow start. But in the second half of the season, with a lot of young players in there, like Kyle Lewis was American League Rookie of the Year last year, unanimous choice. Justice Sheffield, Justin Dunn in the starting rotation. In the second half of the season last year, they went 19-14 and finished 2 games back of the Houston Astros, who were second to the A's, and the Mariners were third. But they made a push there for a little hope there for a shot at maybe at the playoffs. So now I think it's time for this team to win, because now you have a healthy Mitch Haniger back, out there in right field every day. They really missed him. He was an all-star in 2018, hit a lot of home runs and drove in a lot of runs, coming back from 3 different surgeries, missing basically the last 2 years. Tom Murphy is back. He missed all of last season. You have, I think, one of the best pitchers in the American League is your ace of your staff, Marco Gonzalez, who was 7-2 last year at 3.10 ERA. He's a bulldog. He really is a bulldog from Gonzaga. And you have Paxton back. You have the experience of Sheffield and now Dunn in that start rotation. Chris Flexen pitched very well, at spring training. And you look for Yusei Kikuchi to make a bounce back year. So it's a team that led the league in stolen bases last year. I think they're going to do that again this year. The offense is going to be much better. Taylor Trammell was a great surprise, at spring training, won himself a spot, on this ball club. So I think now my expectations for this club, as well as the fans, it's time to have some fun and win some ball games in the American League West.
Michelle, I told you didn't need me. Rizzs does it all. I love it. I'll follow up saying that he's right. I think it's time to see a step forward. I think Jerry Dipoto has said that the step back was a couple of years ago and last year. This year, it's a step forward. This team wants to contend. I think they're in position to contend. They need to contend so people can see that this process is working and they got, good pieces in place. And I think that this year is when they take that step forward. That is the hope and the belief, at least.
Yeah, Rick, how has the Bulldog nickname not caught on to this point? I mean, we have the big Maple and James Paxton. You got a Bulldog who is a Bulldog in Marco Gonzalez. I like that. I think we should start spreading that around. Mariners fans will catch on very soon.
And Marco would love that too, because he's a proud Bulldog at Gonzaga, especially, what they've done in the NCAA basketball tournament. So, yeah, he is a Bulldog too. His preparation, no one is more prepared than that guy before a ball game. As a matter of fact, last year, the younger pitchers would go into the pregame meetings with Marco and Luis Carranza Murphy or Austin Ola, who was catching last year in the first half of the season, and find out, how does this guy get ready? So when he's on the mound, he's ready to attack the strike zone, attack the hitters, and he's about as competitive as they get. And I've loved watching him pitch because, number one, he doesn't walk anybody. 0.9 walks every 9 innings last year. That was number 1 in baseball. Walks to strikeout ratio is off the charts, and he gets you out. He knows how to pitch. He can spot his fastball anywhere he wants, and I just love the way he pitches. He's a Bulldog. He hates to lose. He doesn't like to make a bad pitch, and you can see his demeanor on the mound, and that's bad news for hitters around the American League.
Well,
okay,
Brad
I see it now.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I see it now. Let's get Kevin Martinez on the phone. I want a Mariners commercial where it's Marco Gonzalez surrounded by Bulldogs, right?
I like that.
Wouldn't that be great?
I like that. Or at least the mascot.
Little puppy Bulldogs, that'd be cute too. Yeah.
The most fun I have with Marco is making fun of Gonzaga, telling him that they're overrated, send him a text when they got the number 1 seed. Overrated, no chance. And he gets so fired up. You think he's intense on the mound. I mean, you should see him defend his Bulldogs to anybody. And so far they're certainly the class of the tournament so far. But I know he's enjoying that. And I know he's really looking forward to starting an opening night, which he's done the last couple of years, but now at home in front of fans for the first time. So he's really pumped about that.
And hopefully he'll be just as successful as Gonzaga has been in the tournament, making it to the Final Four. But Rick, you mentioned Taylor Trammell a second ago. How about the kind of sneaky good trade they had with the Padres last year between Trammell and Ty France, who just ripped it up during the spring, and Luis Torrens, who now is the backup catcher? I feel like they got the great end of that deal if the last few months are any indication of what they've got from that trade last year.
Aaron, they really did. Jerry DiPoto did a great job making that trade, but it doesn't happen unless Austin Nola goes out there and has an outstanding first half of the season. He really came out. Here's a guy who was a former shortstop in college and in the minor leagues, and then became a catcher and did a heck of a job for us. But if he doesn't play that well in the first half, Jerry doesn't get the quality. He made a heck of a trade to get Ty France. Ty France is going to have a great year. I love watching this guy hit. He hits with power. He had 5 home runs down in the Cactus League, and 4 were line drive shots to left field or to right center field. The guy just knows how to hit. He can help you out at second base, at third base as well. You get a backup catcher in Luis Torrens, who did a nice job in the second half of the season. Then you get Taylor Trammell, who's one of the top 100 prospects in all of baseball. And he was probably the big story at spring training this year. Went out there and started hitting. I didn't realize how big and strong this guy was until I actually saw him, because we did Zoom interviews where everybody's sitting down. We see our face like this. This kid is very, very athletic. First round pick by the Reds, the trade to San Diego, and then the trade to the Mariners that Jerry pulled off was incredible. And then wait till you see the other kid, Andres Munoz, who we didn't get a chance to see this year because he was coming back from Tommy John surgery, but he's a young man, 19, 20 years of age, who can throw about 100 miles an hour. So Jerry got a ton of quality in that trade with the San Diego Padres last year, and it's really going to pay off.
You can't tell how big I am if I sit like this.
Am I bigger, Riz?
Brad, you're a little bit bigger. Come on,
Aaron, get up there.
There you go. You're huge guy.
It's all about the angle, right? It's the tilt on the screen.
Yeah. On this year, I look like I'm 5'8".
Yeah.
You know?
Is this
what are you laughing at, Michelle?
Is this my side?
There you go.
Any side is great for you.
Background too.
Rick, so much love for you guys. Okay, we gotta move on. Topic number 2. Let's dive into the division. How tough is the AL West going to be this year, and how are the Mariners going to kind of navigate that?
It'll be tough. Oakland always seems to find a way to win, and they were awesome last year, but they lost their closer, Liam Hendricks. They lost one of the best players in the American League last year in Marcus Semien, who's now with the Toronto Blue Jays. They got Elvis Andrus. They signed Trevor Rosenthal. So they're still going to be good. You still got those guys in the corner, Chapman at third and Olsen over at first base. Their starting pitching always, is really good as well. But I think the Mariners are going to make the biggest stride in this division. Houston, I think, is coming back, especially with no Justin Verlander and no George Springer at the top of the order. They're leading off, hitting home runs and driving in runs. I think that's going to be a big loss for them. Framber Valdez was hurt, fractured finger at spring training, big, talented pitcher in that starting rotation. So I think the timing is just right for this ball club in the American League West to surprise the teams in front of them. I think they made a big stride in the second half, like I said earlier, against, Houston. They caught up to Houston. We're 2 games behind this ball club, who only a few years ago, won the World Series. So I think they've got a shot to surprise a lot of people in our division. Bradley, sorry, I interrupted.
No, you're good. I think you're right. I think the Mariners take a step forward in the division, and I think the other teams kind of come back a little bit. I think it's going to be a really competitive division because Houston's not going to run away. I don't think the A's are going to run away with it. The Angels are kind of the Angels. They've got Trout and a good offense and no pitching, and the Rangers are in rebuild. So I think that, again, it's going to be where everybody's going to kind of be in it, I think into August and September, which would be kind of fun for the Mariners and their fans. But I don't see the talent that we've seen the last couple of years, which is good as the Mariners make that step up.
Yeah, I think here's the deal. Take a look at the Vegas expectations. You get a good idea of what the overall sentiment nationally is surrounding the division. The Astros expected to win 87 games, the A's 86 games, the Angels 83 games, and the Mariners right now 72 games. I'm sorry, I'm taking the over 72 games all day long. It shows that the overall sentiment of the M is kind of down this year. But as you guys were saying, I think they have a good chance to be a 500 ball club or even higher, puts them at least at 81 wins. And again, I'm not convinced that the A's or the Angels are going to be that great. The Astros didn't necessarily become a World Series contender this year. You mentioned Springer. So I say it's kind of anyone's ball game at this point. Would not be surprised if they were to contend for the division or at least be close midway through the year.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. The Angels always seem to have a problem, with putting together a starting staff, one that can, move them forward. Yeah, well, yeah. But they've got, Trout and Rendon and Pujols is still can, hurt you if you make a bad pitch. But I just like where the Mariners are sitting right now, because the Mariners are on their way up like this. We saw the improvement last year. We got a glimpse of it when Kyle Lewis joined the ball club in September 2 years ago and burst onto the scene and hit home runs in 6 of his first 10 ball games. And then last year was the American League Rookie of the Year. So I'm really excited about this ball club. And not only this year, but the wave of kids, that are coming, wait till you see the other guys. There's, of course, Jared Kellnick and Julio Rodriguez, and also Cal Raleigh, who had a really good spring switching and catcher. Then you have the pitchers, Logan Gilbert and Emerson Hancock and George Kirby. And it just goes on and on and on. So you got a wave after this and another wave after that wave. So really excited about this organization for a long time.
On that note, next topic, it's a two-parter. I want to know, who are you most excited to see this season play and take their biggest strides? But also, you, Rick, and Brad got a little bit more inside access than Aaron and I did during spring training this year, when we normally get to know the guys' personalities and that kind of stuff. I want to know who you guys think, pitchers or position players, hitters, who's going to have the best walkout song? So two-parter.
You know what?
Well, Rizzs will know the music. He'll know the music for sure.
Well, with my headphones on, I don't really hear, their walk-up music, or I'm talking to Aaron or to Mike or to Gary or Simsy. So I don't know. I can't answer that question. But I don't know. Brad?
I would think Kyle Lewis will be pretty dialed in. And I just knowing a little bit of Taylor Trammell, I think he'll come with something pretty strong, especially making an opening day roster for the first time. I think his music game will be strong. The person I'm looking forward to most watching, I'm not going to go with the young kids. I'm excited to see those guys play, of course, but as Rick mentioned earlier, Mitch Haniger is a guy that I think everybody roots for. You know what he's been through the last couple of years with the surgeries and not being able to play last year. He had a great spring. He looks healthy. You hope he can return to that 2018 form. You just hope he can be healthy and play nearly every day and kind of his body withstand a season. So I'm excited. I'm pumped that he's in there and ready to play. And I hope that he stays healthy. And I'm kind of most looking forward to watching Mitch.
I'm most looking forward to seeing a guy who's not there yet, and it is Jared Kellnick. I just think it's such a fascinating story about, is it service time manipulation? Is it not service time manipulation? At the end of the day, he probably deserves a chance to start there from day one. But from an organizational standpoint, when you can have another full year of club control, if he's not with the team for the first 16 days of the season, I mean, it's a no-brainer. Right. Exactly. So after that, it's game on. I'm curious. I know the rhetoric is that they want to get him more playing time at the AA or AAA level. I'm kind of curious how soon they really do bring him up after that month has passed, because we've all seen it. I mean, he's got the it factor. He's got the attitude that can really affect the spirit of this clubhouse. I'm really excited to see what he can do. Song-wise, though, I don't know about this year. Last year, Sam Haggerty had the song Superstition as his walk-up song. And it kind of raises the question specifically for him. If Superstition is your walk-up song and then you end up in a hitting slump, do you change your walk-up song because you're superstitious?
You got to be superstitious, right?
Absolutely.
Song goes.
Yeah. And then I mean, how many other batters end up making changes to the song when they're in the middle of slumps? I mean, are they superstitious?
Oh, absolutely.
I'm sure they
Ball
are.
players are very superstitious. Yeah. I think my favorite walk-up song was at Cervelli with the Pirates. Had Summer Wind by Frank Sinatra.
Well, how about what was it? Elvis Andrus, Baby Shark. Remember that when that was like?
Oh, yeah.
right.
Oh, Baby Shark.
Oh.
You're like, save it. I don't
That'll
think
be
he
in
picked
your
that one.
head
But yes,
forever,
the
days.
rest of that game, yes.
It
Little
worked for the
post-game
Washington
going.
Nationals, man. They won
It did.
a World Series with that Baby Shark.
Yep, true.
All right, last topic, guys, and then we'll wrap it up here. I hate to say it, but there's a possibility that this will be Kyle Seager's last year as a Mariner. It's been so fun to watch him, over the years. I'm curious if you guys have a favorite memory or moment with him, either on or off the field, that when all is said and done and we're putting Kyle in the Mariners Hall of Fame, that you'll look back on and be like, yeah, that's how I remember Kyle.
You know what? I just had one a couple of weeks ago. It was one of the cutest things I've ever seen in my life. We're playing a Cactus League game in Peoria, and Kyle's in the batter's box getting ready to hit, and his wife, Julie, son Crew, and his two little young daughters are sitting next to Julie, right down below us. And you can hear them, and all of a sudden, one of the daughters is yelling, "Daddy, Daddy, Daddy." He calls timeout, and he turns around, and he waves to his kid. I go, is that the cutest thing I've ever seen in my life? Here's a big league ball player who's had a great career. He's going on his 11th season as a Mariner. I hope it continues. He's going to be in the Mariners. I think he should be in the Mariners Hall of Fame. You take a look at his numbers. They're right there below Junior and Edgar or Jay Buhner. I mean, Kyle Seager is right there. Tremendous third baseman. But that was one of the cutest things I've ever seen, taking time out to wave to his baby daughter, during the course of a ball game. But a number of years ago, he won a Gold Glove. He made the All-Star team. And I just love what this kid has done with his major league career here in Seattle. And he's been a joy to watch all these years.
Yeah, no doubt. Mariners Hall of Famer for sure. One of my all-time favorites, top 5 Mariners that I've ever covered. I just, we've been with them since the call up in 2011. And I tell you, I go back to that in Anaheim, and I've never seen a kid not blink. When he was on the field and he was like so amazed, and he didn't blink, and it was amazing. I've never seen eyes so big and never blink during a debut. And just, seeing him kind of grow up, Riz, getting married, having the kids and stuff, just seeing the man he's kind of become. And it's funny, we talk about him being, the old veteran. He's like 33. It's like, man, I'm killed to be 33 again.
That's right.
But I just love the commitment, the hard work every day, an example for the kids, for the young players. I mean, he plays hurt. He plays
every day.
Yeah.
He plays every day.
He's awesome. And it's, you don't want to say it, Michelle, but if this is it, I mean, you want him to go out certainly on a high note.
I love those stories, and you guys obviously have a lot more experience with Kyle than I do. Personally, I think Kyle has been one of the most consistently accessible players to the media over the course of his career. That really has never changed. And you see it a lot of times with some of the superstar players or even the veterans. The rookies, they're always willing to talk, but by their 4th or 5th year, they're always coming up with some excuse. I'll get to you tomorrow, or I got to get to the golf course. I got a tee time.
I'm glad doesn't happen to just me. Good. I'm glad that happens to you too. Okay.
Or I'll get you after I eat. Seager has been so good about giving his time to the media, and that's never really changed from my perspective. So I give him major props, and let's make it a good one. Starting with opening night.
Absolutely. And we want to see him and the rest of the Mariners just have a wonderful 2021 season. Everyone stay healthy, and a wonderful season to you, Rick and Brad. Thanks so much for joining us and giving us your insight. We just always love to talk Mariners baseball with you guys. Next up, I catch up with the Mariners outfielder Mitch Haniger. He hasn't seen the field for a regular season game since June of 2019, but following 3 surgeries, the former Mariners All-Star is ready to get back on top form and eager to get things going with his teammates in 2021. Mitch, it's great to see you. The season's starting on Thursday, days away. Kind of, how are you feeling getting ready for another season back with the Mariners?
I'm excited. It's been a while since been back on the field in a regular season game, so I've been really excited, and I know myself and the rest of my teammates are really excited to get back to Seattle. Typically, like the last week of spring training, you're itching to get out of here and ready for the season to start. So we're excited to get up to T-Mobile and get things rolling.
The last time I saw you was spring training 2020, before the world decided to completely turn upside down, and you were starting your road to recovery. I remember at that point in time you were saying that you could barely even kind of walk to be out at spring training because they didn't want you anywhere near a field in case there was a fly ball, stuff like that. Given that it's been kind of a year, well, how would you assess kind of where you were then versus like where you are now and the journey that your body has gone through throughout recovery?
Yeah, it's been a lot. Leading up to the surgeries was pretty rough. Had the surgeries, and then the back surgery is a real slow recovery. So the first month was just limited to walking, and didn't want me reacting to anything like staying out of the dugout in case foul balls, stuff like that. Didn't want to make any sudden movements that would aggravate my back. But it was a long road, but I'm happy to be back, and I'm excited for this season, and I'm feeling really good. And ultimately thankful for the process of going through it. I think it's made me a lot stronger, and I know my body better. And I also think going through something like that mentally makes you a lot tougher. And I'm excited for the season to start. Should be a good year.
You touched on a couple things there, mental toughness, physical kind of limitations or knowing your body, that kind of stuff. And then, you look at 2020 as a year of reflection just for kind of everyone based on everything we've gone through with COVID and stuff. Between the COVID pandemic and the road to recovery for you, what have been kind of the biggest lessons you have learned or the biggest things you've learned about yourself along the way?
Well, I think first off, if you're alive, you need to be grateful just for your health and being alive. And I think, given COVID around the world, there's a lot, especially people who suffered and passed away from this disease or this during the pandemic. I think there's a lot of things that you should be grateful for. And, just for me, having a roof over my head and a house and running water and all these other things were something to be grateful for. And, as far as baseball goes, I'm so happy and excited to be back. And not that I ever felt like I took anything for granted before, but I think just there's another level of appreciation being back on the field, back in the clubhouse with my teammates.
On that note, have you thought at all what it's going to feel like to get back out on the field at T-Mobile Park on Thursday, April 1st? Obviously, you've had some spring training games, but this will be your first regular season game since, what was it, June of 2019? Have you thought about the emotional side of what that will mean for you when that happens?
No, not really. Kind of. I know. Just kind of waiting to see. I don't really know how it's going to be. So tough to. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe emotional, but definitely excited. And luckily, I had some games here in spring training to ease myself back into it, and hopefully, it won't be too emotional.
Well, and I love that you've gone through what you have. You're getting back out on the field. You're playing great. If anybody's followed along with what you've done over spring training, I've obviously been a fan of yours for years with the Mariners, but then adding to it, I don't know if you remember this. I told you last year at spring training with all of this, I had back surgery too. And so I kind of understand a little bit. That obviously ended my any kind of athletic endeavors. So I'm very happy that it didn't do anything like that for you. But from one back surgery patient to another, I am so proud of you and everything that you've physically done, because I feel like I can attest to at least part of that kind of recovery process. Not that I was ever in as good of shape as you. But do you have kind of that sense of pride in yourself of when you look back of like the starting point of, kind of having difficulty of walking, moving, how weak you are after a surgery like that, to the fact that you're a professional athlete on the biggest stage in the world, really ready to kick butt and do great things this season, and kind of just that spectrum. It's so impressive.
Yeah, thanks. I mean, for me, the toughest pill to swallow was just because I had to surrender to I didn't know how long it was going to take for me to get back to 100%, but I knew I would get back to 100%. And that was just kind of like, okay, keep focusing on what I can do every day to kind of get 1 inch closer, one step closer to the finish line. And definitely, tough weeks and months there where you don't feel like things are progressing well. You don't feel like, you're like, will this pain ever go away? And eventually over time, I knew that I would get back to my full strength, and I think I'm better now than I was prior to the surgeries, just because I think I'm stronger in certain areas that I've addressed coming back from the surgeries, and I'm really excited. I feel like I'm moving better. I know more about my body now. But yeah, it's really difficult going through the process, and there are times where you feel like it's not going to turn around or go forward, but you just have to keep pushing and believe in yourself. And yeah, just reminding myself that, like, I don't care how long this takes, I know I'm going to come back better, was definitely something that I would repeat.
Tell me about your recovery, because there is this great video of you. I mean, you kind of documented it on your social media a bit, and I love this one video of you on your Instagram where you were like wrestling with like this 300-pound bag that's literally like on top of you. What is like was that the craziest thing you've done to get back to where you are, or like did you find yourself pushing yourself in different directions in doing different exercises to re-strengthen your body?
Yeah, definitely. That was one of them. I've always done a lot of deadlifting, trap bar deadlifting because it's really good for your core and low back. So I've done a lot of that this off season. And then this off season, I started training with a guy named Austin Einhorn, and he has kind of a different approach to training than most strength coaches. And I started doing more climbing, which requires a ton of core strength. And that was kind of one of the main purposes behind adding that in. He was like, your shoulders will be stronger, your core will be stronger, and just body awareness. And that helped my training and my body a lot, as well as, he calls that the Gator Wrestle. It's a 300-pound sandbag. And basically you have to be really good with using your core to whip that thing over to each side, and as well as like controlling your breathing so that thing doesn't crush you. And that was fun. We did a lot of training that was fun. And in addition to all the stuff that I've done over the years at Sparta, following along with my scans and doing my scans every couple of weeks and making sure my levels are good, and then adding in some of the new stuff that I learned with him was really helpful, and I was really happy with the off season.
Okay, but the real big question now, would you ever wrestle an alligator?
No, absolutely not.
Yeah, that's just crazy.
Maybe if you tape its mouth shut and I'll wrestle it.
Yeah, you need one of those, like, what do they do it with, like, if you ever watch like the National Geographic Channel or whatever, it's like the zip ties or whatever when they're transporting them.
Yeah, put a couple of those on and maybe.
Okay, I'd pay to see that. I mean, you were pretty impressive with that sandbag. I'll tell you that. Last time you were fully healthy, 2018, it was your all-star season. Where are you at in terms of setting goals for yourself for the 2021 season? What do you hope to accomplish this year?
Just a full season and being healthy. And I know if I'm healthy, I'll play well. For me, it's always come down to, staying healthy. If I'm 100% healthy, I think I'll have a great year, and I know I'll have a great year. So just taking care of my body and, listening to training staff and doing all the maintenance work to feel comfortable and calm and strong the whole season.
Now, Skip kind of keeps it close to the vest when it comes to kind of what we can expect from you guys, lineup-wise, all that kind of stuff with the season gets going next week. But we've seen you a lot in the leadoff hitting spot over spring training. Is that something you're hoping for? Is that something you like yourself in that role, or where do you see that?
I love hitting leadoff. I always have. I always felt like I've done a really good job in the leadoff role, as well as I love hitting second in the order too. But really anywhere. I told him anywhere near the top is good with me. So, yeah, I do love leading off, but wherever they feel that I need to be to help our team win and help increase our chances of winning, I'm all for it.
The Mariners have kind of flying under the radar a little bit this year, kind of for the last couple of years. You've got a really young core group of players. You hear some of the veteran players on this team, Marco Gonzalez, Kyle Seager, kind of saying things along those lines of, we want to catch people off guard. We want to show people really what we're capable of doing. What do you think this team is capable of doing this season?
Just playing hard. I think that we can't control the rankings or where people think we're going to finish or any of that sort. Just taking one game at a time and compete out there. I think anything else is just kind of extra noise. So, but yeah, definitely. I think, when your team's not hyped up that much, you want to catch teams by surprise. And, I'm sure they're not going to expect much when they play against us, but we know we have a good group of guys in the clubhouse, and we'll go out there and fight.
Lastly, I asked this of Marco just earlier when he was on with his media availability, and I'm curious your thoughts on this too. That obviously opening day is a big day for you personally as a player, for the team, for the club, for the organization. But this year's opening day will even be a really monumental moment for the city of Seattle. The fact that it will be the first major sporting event in over a year that will have fans in attendance. Have you thought at all about the historical significance of that, or what that will mean, years from now, looking back on everything the year's gone through and knowing you being part of that monumental process towards kind of getting back to normalcy for society?
Yeah, no, it's pretty cool. I haven't really thought of that until you just mentioned it, but we've definitely been really excited that we are going to have fans there. I didn't play last year, obviously, but just watching games on TV, it wasn't the same without fans even being there. From my perspective, on the couch watching TV, I couldn't imagine being an actual player on the field. And it's so fun to have packed stands and T-Mobile, and even when they're on the road, it's great. And we're excited to have, although it's going to be a limited number to start the year, we're excited to have fans back in the stands, and hopefully by the end of the year, we can pack the seats again. And I know all of us players are really excited for that.
What'd you miss most about not playing last year that you're most looking forward to about this year?
Definitely being away from the guys, not being around the clubhouse, not being around all my friends and teammates. But just as much as that was the missing the competition, just getting the batter's box and competing against the pitcher and also just another team. I couldn't really fill that with I had no void to fill that during COVID, and, not being able to really compete with anything other than myself, just trying to get better every day with the injuries and recovery. So the competition, that's been a really fun part about coming back this year.
Oh, that's amazing. Well, we're all looking forward to seeing you compete this year. Mitch, I'm just so happy to see you healthy and well. And thank you so much for the time. Best of luck this year.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Well, that does it for this episode of Just a Bit Outside, presented by WaFd Bank. Join a best bank at wafedbank.com. Remember that you can find all episodes of Just a Bit Outside at justabitoutside.fox and wherever you subscribe to your podcast. That's including Apple and Spotify. A huge thanks to Rick, Brad, and Mitch for joining us here on the show. For Aaron Levine and our entire production crew, I'm Michelle Ludtka. Thanks for hanging out with us. We'll see you next week.